Welcome to the inaugural episode of Do I Dare to Eat a Peach? I am Robison Wells.
And I'm Dan Wells.
And we are starting this podcast. We realized recently that we are two brothers who write books. You would have thought that we would have caught on to that a little bit earlier.
Technically, we knew that. We just didn't realize that we should be using it to our advantage promotionally.
Yes, capitalizing on all of you chumps out there. So we decided to start a podcast, and what we thought we would go for. Well, Dan, why don't you explain the line, do I dare to eat a peach?
Okay. We have been trying to... We've been thinking about this podcast for a while. We were trying to come up with a cool title for it, and we couldn't think of anything good until Rob suggested that we maybe pull a line from a poem. My favorite poem ever is The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock by T.S. Eliot, which had lots of really funny lines in it that would make good titles, like A Pair of Ragged Claws, or I think my favorite was Lonely Men in Shirt Sleeves.
Yeah, I like
But we
that
decided to go for something a little less emo than that, and way more esoteric and hard to understand. So, Do I Dare to Eat a Peach? Which basically is saying, go ahead and make a decision and do something cool and live with the consequences.
So what we decided to do, or what the point of this podcast is we are going to talk about pop culture, and we're going to discuss the things that we like, and we are going to dare you to eat some peaches. We're going to talk about the strange things that we enjoy. We've always been kind of nitpickers, and we've always had quirky tastes. We grew up together, and so some of our tastes are very similar to each other's, but some are not at all.
We will disagree violently on many things.
That we will do. And so what we decided to do today for the inaugural episode is the website IO9 came out recently with a list of the 10 best comic book movies of all time. Now, just to warn you, this is not going to be a podcast devoted, the series is not going to be devoted to necessarily the nerdery of comic books. But we thought that this list and
You say that like it's a bad thing.
I do say that like it's a bad thing. No.
We're going to be talking about books and movies and comics and TV shows and everything else. All forms of media. Today just happens to be this list because Avengers just came out, and nothing starts a good argument like a top 10 list. So,
Yes. So let's dive right in. So number 10 that they have on the list, Superman the movie. Daniel, I am of the strong opinion that Superman the movie should not be on this list.
At all? Anywhere?
Well, it's number 10, and there's only 10, and I don't think it should be in the top 10. Why I've
not?
Made a top 10.
What would you put in its place?
Well, I don't know what I would put in its place, but I think that it is terrible in many ways. Granted, it's important in that it was the first really big blockbuster superhero movie, I guess, and that it was so it's important. But it's terrible.
It's not terrible. It's awesome.
It's terrible.
Christopher Reeve continues to be the best Superman.
Well, I won't disagree with that.
Any live action or cartoon interpretation.
Okay.
I'll even go so far as to say that Margot Kidder is the best Lois Lane ever.
I guess.
I know a lot of people don't like her.
Well,
I think she's fantastic.
I've got a thing for Kate Bosworth, and so,
Yes, but that movie was
terrible.
Arguably the worst comic book movie ever made.
Well...
And I'm including all the old, 1970s Captain Americas and stuff.
You can't be including the first Fantastic Four.
I totally am. It was way worse than Fantastic Four.
Oh my gosh, what's
Superman
wrong with
Returns. Bryan Singer is one of my favorite directors ever. Superman Returns was abysmal.
Well, okay. I agree.
Kevin Spacey was bad in that movie, and he's not bad in anything.
Well, yes, and he was the perfect choice for Lex Luthor, and it still was terrible, yeah. But anyway, 2 points about Superman the movie, the original. Okay. 2 scenes that just kill it for me. Number 1, her weird little poem song thing that she sings while she's in her head while she's flying with Superman. Which, if I can find a clip of on YouTube, I am going to play right here.
Hey, I could recite it for you if you want.
Would you like to?
Can you read my mind? Do you know what it is that I'm thinking of? Or dreaming of? One of the two. Anyway, it's John Williams, dude.
Oh, it's awful. It's awful. Okay, and then the last thing is the entire climax of the movie is so idiotic as to be... I mean, no one can suspend their disbelief as far as flying backwards around the Earth to go back in time. Number one, that would, it breaks every law of physics and everything, and everyone on Earth would die and the Earth would explode. But also, now we know that he can go back in time, and so every other Superman movie, whenever anything bad happens, why doesn't he just go back in time and fix all the problems? It's just a stupid, stupid conclusion to a movie.
Well, okay, I'll grant you that. But it's still good. It's still a good movie.
I will say that it starts strong and ends terribly.
So, you want it off the list altogether. What do you want to put in its place?
I would say, I would say either the first Spider-Man movie, of the recent Spider-Man movies, or the first X-Men movie. They're both definitely better than Superman the movie. Granted, maybe not as important, but this is not a list of the most important movies. It's the list of the best. Also, Batman Begins is not on this list. That definitely could be on there. I would even put the original Tim Burton Batman above Superman the movie.
The original Tim Burton Batman, I'll grant you, is sadly lacking from this list.
For pure enjoyment, I would put the campy 1960s Batman movie over Superman the movie. I would gladly watch that before I would watch Superman the movie.
The shark repellent movie?
Yes. That is intentionally campy and hilarious.
Well, if you don't think that Superman the movie is intentionally campy and hilarious, I think that might be why you dislike it.
Make an argument to tell me why it should be on this list.
Because it's a great movie. Because it is a fantastic Superman. It has a great relationship. It shows... I think he's not only is he the best Superman, he's the best Clark Kent that I've ever seen done. I will further grant you, and I actually, this bothers me much more so than does the ridiculous ending. Because it's a Superman movie and I was kind of expecting a ridiculous ending. What bugs me about the Superman movie is, Lex Luthor. And I love me some Gene Hackman, and hooray for all of that. Lex Luthor's an important villain, but every Superman movie ever made, it seems like the villain is a real estate agent, and that gets old really fast.
Yes.
So, trying to sink California because you're evil, I can understand. Trying to sink California because you just want to make a lot of money off of beachfront property in Nevada is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I'll grant you that that's silly, but it all works for me. It all seems of a piece. Everything is silly, and so none of it stands out as too silly to take the movie seriously. If that makes any sense at all.
Everything's silly, and so we have to take it seriously.
Exactly.
All right, let's move on. Number 9 on the list. X-Men.
I'm thinking what? Because we've mentioned a couple of times of things that maybe should or should not be on the list. Should we go through the whole list, name them off, and then talk about them one by one so that people know what's on the list and what isn't?
No, let's leave them in suspense.
Okay.
So their little hearts are going pitter-pat as they're wondering what order things are in.
People, if you don't want to be in suspense, the internet. Just look this up while we're talking about it. All right, number 9 on here is X2, X-Men United, the second X-Men movie. which I think is wonderful and which I think is actually way too low on this list.
I would agree. I think that it's definitely the best of the X-Men movies, and it's sad that the only downside to this movie is that it sets up the third movie, and the third movie was so bad.
Yes. Well, I would say that there's some other downsides to this movie. I think Storm and Cyclops are woefully underused.
Yeah, but I've never liked Cyclops. I always thought that he ought to be underused. I think that the whole love triangle is a little too I don't know.
No, see, but that could have worked if they'd given Cyclops something cool to say or do. Because James Marsden's a wonderful actor. Cyclops is not an inherently horrible character, but, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine was so perfect that they really had to go the extra mile to make any kind of tension between him and Cyclops believable, because obviously you're going to root for Wolverine, and they didn't put that work into it, and so it ends up feeling a little lopsided to me.
Right. I would say, though, that it's not an issue of not giving Cyclops enough to do, but giving him a better personality, because they don't really show any reason why Jean Grey should be so in love with him, other than the fact that they have history together. Dear listeners, we're noticing that Dan's getting some feedback on his end of the line. And I just want to blame it on him and let you all know that this is his fault. But we're going to fix that for future episodes.
I'm going to blame communism.
Well, and that's a decent argument.
Okay, so the thing with Cyclops, I think you are correct. They didn't give him a good personality. And part of that is because Cyclops is basically the leader who's the good guy, and there's not a lot of tension in his character to begin with. But I think what Marvel has done with Captain America in the last two movies, they've shown how that kind of Boy Scout character can still be made very good and interesting.
Right.
So that's what they needed to do with Cyclops, and they didn't.
Yeah, and I agree with that. That all makes sense.
But we've just spent half an hour talking about Cyclops, who's like the only bad part of this entire movie. It's a fantastic movie.
It is very
good.
Nightcrawler is
amazing. Movie. Wolverine is amazing. Even Iceman was great.
Yes.
The scene with his parents, I think, is arguably the strongest scene in the movie, because it really hits home the kind of underlying prejudice issues of the movie of, have you ever tried not being a mutant?
Right.
Things like that, which I love.
Which is throughout the whole trilogy of movies, and yet I think this is the only one that really gets it right. So, yeah, I totally agree. I would probably put it higher up on this list, but
I would put it much higher. I'd put it top 5 easy.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I probably would also, yeah. I'll give you that. All right, number 8.
Number 8 is one of my favorite movies,
and
Hellboy.
Hellboy, yeah. Now, it's one of your favorite movies. It's one that I don't dislike it, but I'm not in love with it.
Here's the thing, though. You saw it in a theater when there were little kids, and so you spent the whole movie thinking, this is too violent for little kids.
That is exactly right.
That's not a fair way of looking at the movie.
It is, and I've tried to rewatch it, and granted, it's better when I've tried to rewatch it, but even then, it's still, I wouldn't. I think that it's good enough that it probably deserves to be on the top 10 list. It's certainly better than Superman the movie, but I have no love for it. I don't hate it. I don't love it.
Okay. I will tell you right now that with the arguable exception of Spider-Man, Hellboy is ironically the most human superhero on this list. And this movie captured that perfectly.
Really?
Absolutely. He is the one who is most concerned with living a normal life. He is the one who, feels like the kind of guy you just hang out with. He's a superhero, but he's also just a dude, and he has cats, and he eats chili, and he hangs out. There's the fantastic scene where he hangs out on the roof talking to the little kid. Yes.
That's true. That's true.
He has a more rounded and complete character than almost any other superhero portrayed in a movie.
Yeah, and I'll definitely grant you that. I do think, on the flip side, that the bad guys in this movie are lacking. And granted, again, I am not as fluent in this movie and its sequel as you are, but the bad guys are, I mean, because of the fact that he is a demon, the bad guys are demonic cultists, Satanists, whatever they are, and
not Satanists, they're like Cthulhu cultists.
Right. And it's just too, what's the word? Too foreign of a bad guy to be relatable to. It's, yeah.
I was about to disagree, but you're right. The villains are definitely the weak part of the movie. The villains in the second Hellboy movie are much better, but I have to say overall the first movie is better. The second movie had some weird stuff that didn't work for me. The climax in particular felt really obligatory in the second one.
Yeah. I will say that the kind of assassin, skeletal, creepy, mummified, whatever he is, bad guy, clockwork bad guy, he's very cool, but not from a personality perspective, more from a concept perspective.
Yeah. So second movie has better villains. First movie has better story.
Agreed.
Both movies I love.
All right, well, let's hop to number 7. Number 7 is Spider-Man 2, which it's fantastic. It deserves to be in at least the top 3, if not the top 2 or 1.
You would put it that high? Best superhero movie ever?
I would say, well, granted, now I have not yet seen The Avengers. The Avengers came out just a couple days ago. I haven't seen The Avengers yet. I would put it over what is currently ranked as the number 1 movie on this list.
Really?
I can't think of a movie on this list that I really love more. Yeah. Or that is better done.
Okay, that's a strong statement then. Tell us what's so good about it. I mean, I agree. I love it. I wouldn't put it that high, but why would you put it as like the number 1 on the list?
I think that it just perfectly captures the character of Spider-Man, the humanity of him, like you're talking about with Hellboy, that he is such a good character. It is more of a complete story. It seems like every comic book movie, not every comic book movie, but the majority of them are meant to be a series. And granted, this one is in a series, but it's the one that feels the most complete as a story of its own, that can stand on its own, with a fantastic conclusion that doesn't feel like it's setting itself up for something more. And granted, I mean, when it did try to set it up for when they did try to continue it on, it just was a muddled mess. I just think that this one does it all very, very well.
Well, you've got some good points. I think in terms of pacing, the story arc, it's definitely the best. It has better pacing to it than Avengers or Dark Knight, which I would consider its main contenders for the number 1 slot. It has maybe not the coolest villain, but certainly the most interesting human villain. You know, you get to know more about him, about Dr. Octopus, than, you know, almost any other movie villain, and you really feel for him. He has this very kind of tragic storyline going. Plus, I will say that Spider-Man 2 has the best final scene and final shot of any superhero movie I can think of.
I don't remember the exact final shot. I know the final scene.
Well, it's spoiler warning.
Yes.
He finally rescues Mary Jane.
Right.
He reveals to her who he is.
She comes
They decide
running.
that despite the great risks, they're going to be together anyway. And so he takes her back to his place, and then he hears sirens. And he just kind of stands there like, what do I do? And she says, go. And so he jumps out the window to save the day, and she looks at him and smiles, and then the smile fades away, and she realizes she's all alone. And I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yes.
But that's because I love people being sad.
As well, that doesn't surprise anyone. I will say
also,
the one
great
weekly
scenes.
Oh yes,
the scene with the subway where he essentially all but sacrifices his life to save the people on the subway, and they see who he is, and they promise, they realize he's just a kid, and they promise to keep his secret for him. That is an incredibly powerful scene.
I will say the one weak link is I've lost his name.
James Franco.
Yes, James Franco.
Harry Osborn.
Yeah, and I think that that's just a problem with the continuation. They wanted. I think it's a flaw with the comic book formula that every new movie has to include. If it's the second movie, it has 2 bad guys. If it's the third movie, it has 3 bad guys. And I don't think that he was necessary to the extent that they used him. I think that he fulfilled some good aspects of the role, but he definitely is the weak link.
Well, he wasn't really a bad guy in this one, but you could tell they were setting him up to become one, which I think is why it felt tacked on. It didn't feel like it needed to be in the movie.
Right. He's not a bad guy in the sense that he's a villain. He's a bad guy in the sense that he is a antagonist of Peter Parker, not necessarily an antagonist of Spider-Man himself.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, yeah. Anyway, shall we move on to number 6?
Yes, one of my favorite movies of all time.
Okay, now this is where I think that the list and kind of falls apart. I will say, okay, so the next one on the list is Scott Pilgrim versus the World. And I absolutely love this movie. I could watch it over and over and over and over. But I think that the problem that we're running into is that now we have changed genre to a huge extent, and it's almost like saying almost everything else on the list are superheroes. And this one is not a superhero movie. It is a comic book. And I think that, I mean, granted, they are all comic books, and this is a list of the best comic book movies of all time, but I think that very much expands the genre, and we're kind of comparing apples to oranges. Just the fact that they all happen to be drawn.
I don't know if I agree. In Scott Pilgrim's case, the next one on the list, number 5, I'll totally agree with this point, but not with Scott Pilgrim. Scott Pilgrim is so much an action movie that I can't help but compare it to superhero movies.
Well, it's an action movie, but it is a very different kind of action movie. And
yes, it is.
It is much less superhero and much more geek culture, video game culture, rather than comic book culture. I just said that
yes,
comic books aren't
but
geek
it's
culture.
Awesome.
How do you like that? It is awesome. It is totally awesome. It really feels out of place on the list, even though, granted, on this list, I would probably even put it higher than it is. But it just feels weird to have Scott Pilgrim next to 8 superhero movies.
Okay, now, on the one hand, I've already disagreed with you. On the other hand, I can kind of see your point, because in thinking of how I would reorder this list, I would actually probably put it above Avengers. because I think it is a better movie overall.
Yeah.
But it is not, that's the one instance where suddenly I realize, oh wait, as a superhero movie, Avengers is doing things Scott Pilgrim can't. And so there's that comparison is kind of making me buy your point, but
as a movie, Scott Pilgrim should be higher.
Now, as an adaptation of a graphic story, of a comic book, Scott Pilgrim is brilliant.
Yes.
The way that, it almost more so than a lot of these superhero movies takes what was on the page and adapts it to a different medium in a very clever way.
Yeah, I would say almost the only movies that would come close, in the sense of adapting the aesthetic of the comic book movie to the screen are, let's say, the Ang Lee Hulk did that a lot, where used separate frames, all shown at the same time.
Which Scott Pilgrim doesn't do, but I know what you're saying, that they each had a unique way of adapting from one medium to another.
And then the other one that I would say is The Watchmen. And that one I would include just because so much of it was shot for shot based on the panels of the comic books.
A lot of it was.
Yeah, so from that perspective, yes. I think that Scott Pilgrim is, on this list, the best one at replicating that look.
Okay. From a certain point of view, everything we've said about this movie is boring. So, let's just say Scott Pilgrim is super awesome, and you need to all go watch it.
Yes, it is awesome.
It is one of the best movies that in my personal collection, easily, and I just love it to pieces.
Yeah, I was going to say my favorite part, and then I thought, no, this other thing's my favorite part, and then, no, this other thing is my favorite part. There are just so many parts of it that are just amazingly fantastic and hilarious and surprising, and but also very poignant. And we're talking about a really human character. Scott Pilgrim is. He's the opposite. You said, with the possible exception of Spider-Man, as Spider-Man being the most human of all of them, Scott Pilgrim is not even attempting to be a hero. He just is having to put up with all of these fights.
That's true. Now, that's one of the things I love about the movie is his character arc, and I think that he actually has a very similar character arc to a superhero, which is you start as the nobody, and then you have to end as the hero. And in showing how and why he becomes a better person, Scott Pilgrim probably does that story arc better than almost any other movie on this list.
Yeah, I would totally agree, and I think that a lot of that is that.
Well, part of it is because he literally starts as kind of a D-bag.
Yes.
Tony Stark in Iron Man begins the movie as a jerk, and Scott Pilgrim begins the movie as kind of a jerk. But most superhero movies start you off as a good guy, and then you just become a better guy. And this one really shows him as a weak, selfish, kind of directionless nobody who becomes a hero.
Right. Agreed.
Anyway,
Agreed.
We should move on.
Let's move on to number 5, a movie that I have never seen.
Neither have I, so I don't know how to talk about it.
Okay, it's called Persepolis. And it is Iranian, and
it came out last year. It was it's an animated movie based on a graphic novel about a girl growing up in Iran, and so it's not a superhero movie. It's not an action movie. It just happens to have been based on a comic book because that's the form in which this author originally wrote it, and it's been getting raves. It's on my list of something I want to see. I just haven't yet. It's apparently great, though.
Yeah. So we can't really talk
comment
about it.
on it. Sorry. Yeah. This is our fault.
But
we will watch it though, and we'll let you know how it is.
Yes, we will. But this is the one again where I question the list. I just
see, on the one hand, you're right, and on the other hand, as soon as I saw the title of this article, I thought, oh, Persepolis is going to be on here because it's that famous and that well loved.
Well,
so
there you go.
When you pick comic book movies rather than superhero movies, you make your bed and then you lay in it.
Agreed.
Anyway, let's move on.
Number 4, Iron Man.
Now, Iron Man, I loved. There's absolutely no way it deserves to be this high on the list, though.
I would agree.
Why? I know why I agree.
Circle gets the square. Just because there are so many others that are a little better. That's why. How do you like that for reasoning? Because there are others that are better.
The reason for me, it's a great movie. It's definitely one of the most popular movies on this list, and that is primarily because of Robert Downey Jr. and his personality coming through.
Right.
Here's the thing for me, though, is that a lot of these movies really redefined what a superhero movie could be. Something like Scott Pilgrim or Hellboy or Batman Begins or Dark Knight. You know, it's more than just the guy who becomes a hero and saves the day. Whereas Iron Man is really just an incredibly basic origin story done really, really, really well.
Right. So, and I would agree. And I also think that it suffers from... I think that the ultimate villain in it is lackluster because he's basically fighting himself, and I think that's dull. It reminds me a little bit of Superman 2, where Superman is fighting other Supermen. I think that a guy in a suit shouldn't be fighting a guy in a suit, and
well, to be fair though, that's like one of the strongest tropes of comic books is you fight your evil twin, you know? Well, Spider-Man has Venom, and Iron Man has Warmonger, or Ironmonger, I guess is his name. You know, everyone has their opposite that at some point they have to deal with. Wolverine has Sabretooth.
True, but it's boring. Like, I mean,
I definitely think that the Iron Man 2 had better villains in it.
Yes.
Even though it was not nearly as good of a movie.
Yeah, I would agree. It's not nearly as good, although it still is very good, and I still think it's better than Superman the movie.
Well, yeah, you think everything's better than Superman the movie.
Yes.
Move on.
Number 3, Akira, which I have not seen.
Well, Akira is famous. Akira is one that is totally on this list because it's important.
Right.
Rather than because it deserves to be on this list. I just angered vast legions of anime fans because this film is kind of like the movie that made anime big in the West. You know, this was the first that jumped the ocean, and now it's a huge part of our culture. But I don't know. It's really weird, and it almost feels like, you know, I talked about Iron Man 2 as a list of all the cool things thrown together without a story to hang them together. Akira is that times 1,000. It's a bunch of really neat stuff that doesn't necessarily make sense.
Well, now I'm going to say something that will get me in trouble. I just don't like anime, which granted is saying I don't like novels. I mean, it is so enormous of a category that I should not be able to say such a thing.
You shouldn't.
But
it's a foolish and an ignorant statement.
It is a foolish and an ignorant statement. And yet, I have yet to watch anime that I really enjoy with I mean, Howl's Moving Castle, I enjoyed that. I enjoy Spirited... It is the best of the crappy anime that I've seen. I
have a lot of anime to show you then.
Apparently so. Everything that people have shown me saying this is going to be the one that will make you love anime, I don't get it.
Have you seen some of the other Miyazaki movies like Princess Mononoke?
I haven't seen Princess Mononoke.
You like Howl's Moving Castle better than Spirited Away?
No, I was going to mention Spirited Away and then you talked over me. I like Spirited Away. I mean, it was fine. I don't love it.
You said that.
I don't love it. It is not anything that I would watch again intentionally.
How about Cowboy Bebop? Have you seen any of that?
I have seen some of that.
Show?
That's one of the ones that people say, watch this, you'll fall in love with it, and then you'll always be an anime fan for the rest of your life. And no, I don't get it.
You didn't like Cowboy Bebop?
I didn't like Cowboy Bebop.
Well, then you, sir, can bite your lying, whorish tongue.
I'm sure that there is fantastic anime out there. I am not saying that anime fans are wrong. I'm just saying that I am better than all of you.
Well,
no,
awesome. All right, good night, folks.
In the comment section, why don't you guys give me some anime things that you think are quintessential anime, preferably things on Netflix Instant that I can just watch and maybe
Netflix Instant has so much anime on it right now.
Oh, I know it does, and
it is a vast roiling ball pit.
Whenever I scroll past it, all that I see are girls with enormous breasts and short skirts, and that seems to be Netflix's anime section.
I think that's just what Netflix thinks you would like. So it makes me wonder what you're watching on Netflix. That's what it keeps recommending to you. You like this, you would also love this.
Anime, well, don't get me started.
Time to move on from Rob's questionable Netflix predilections. Number 2 on this list is The Avengers, which is like a week old, unless you live overseas. And it's definitely fantastic. Rob hasn't seen it. I have. I love it to pieces. Okay, I don't think it's number 2, though.
So tell me why you love it to pieces so much. Because I have not seen it. I have heard nothing but good about it. And yet, I have to say that I was not one who had high hopes for it. It seemed like it was overpromising. So tell me.
Okay, well, there are 2 things that I'm going to point out of why this movie is fantastically amazing. Number 1, it takes a very large cast of very different people and gives them all something meaningful and important to do. You feel like you know them all. And in part that's because I've seen all the movies that are leading up to this. But, you know, I have heard from people who haven't seen any of the other Marvel movies and still loved it because it's just so well written and so well constructed. Even people like Black Widow. You know, all we've seen Black Widow do previously in Iron Man 2 was beat up a bunch of guys.
Which,
and
granted,
frankly,
is like one of the best
with
scenes
the Hulk,
in Iron Man 2.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great scene because she's paired with, you know, Iron Man's bodyguard, you know, his chauffeur. And when it's comparing her to a chauffeur and he drops one guy while she drops 20, yes, that's amazing. But in the Avengers, you know, she's not teamed up with a chauffeur, she's teamed up with the Hulk. And if your power is punching things, you don't need to be on the same team as the Hulk because he can punch everyone better than you.
See, but her power in Iron Man 2, and granted I haven't seen Avengers, but in Iron Man 2 she almost seemed to be filling the Batman role. The really excellent martial arts plus really cool gadgets.
Well, and you get a little bit of that. What I loved about her in the Avengers is she's a spy. And the movie actually found time, despite having to develop 6 whole characters and then do a bunch of fights, still found time to have her 2 or 3 different instances using her powers as a spy, to infiltrate, to interrogate, to get information that nobody else could get, which was just a really good way of handling the character. And then, of course, in the final fight, she gets to kick a bunch of guys in the head. So,
cool.
Well done.
Cool. So tell me,
well, now there's the other thing I was going to say.
Yes.
The other reason that the Avengers is awesome is because of how big and epic it is. And literally every time you think something, that's the coolest thing ever, then it will pull out more and more of it. It has a lot of fan service stuff, I think every hero fights every other hero at some point in the movie. The first time Thor nails Hulk in the face with a hammer, I just cheered because I've wanted to see that, and then I got to see it. And then it took that to the next level, It's not just Hulk fighting people. Hulk at one point beats up a jet, and then, Hulk in the final scene, just the massive last half-hour battle is fantastic. The audience could not stop cheering for him because of everything, just more and more and bigger every time.
Okay, so, and granted, I just need to go out and see this movie. My main problem is that I have a fear of movie theaters. But explain to me how the epicness of this worked when so often I think that is a problem with superhero movies, is when they try to go epic rather than, you've got Spider-Man, who's very much the everyday villain, and he is fighting villains who are on a much smaller scale. When you bring in someone like the Silver Surfer, who is undeadable, to use...
I don't think that's a real word.
Yeah, but that's the word we used when we were kids.
We also called guns bangers.
We did call guns bangers. When you bring in bad guys, or antagonists, or whoever, who are that epic in scale, and then you have good guys who are so powerful, when you have Thor, who is a god, how do you still make the story relatable?
Part of it is because they spend, it's a 2.5 hour movie, and they spend about 2 hours of that movie establishing not only these characters, but, very importantly, how they relate to each other. They are pulled together by circumstance, not by their own choice. They do not like each other in the beginning. They do not work well together. And so the story becomes, it's the origin story of a team rather than of an individual. You're seeing them all kind of very slowly realizing, I have this weakness that this other person can fix, not as overt as that, but realizing that if they work together, they are more powerful than when they work alone. And so you get a lot of that, which is a neat character thing you can't get in any other sense. And then part of the reason the epic thing worked is because there's essentially still only one villain who just has a lot of minions.
Right.
We complain about and you mentioned this earlier, that every movie they have to throw in a bunch of extra villains. This one just has Loki, and he's wonderful. The guy playing him is fantastic. He's smarmy and sneaky and deceptive and powerful at the same time. But then when it's time for a huge fight, he's able to bring in a massive army of monsters. And so it's a giant threat. It's enough of a threat that you actually think Hulk and Iron Man and Thor are maybe not going to be able to deal with this.
All right, final movie.
Final movie is The Dark Knight.
As no surprise to anyone, although now here is an interesting thing. I have talked several times, for those of you who are Dan's fans and don't follow me as much, I have a panic disorder. And the awesome story about that is the first time that I experienced a panic attack, I was working like 70 hours a week at a job, very stressful. It was like the final week before this massive presentation to the president of the company, and I had a panic attack, and I thought, well, I need to relax, I need to get out, I need to do something. I went to a late night showing of The Dark Knight, and it was...
That's one of my favorite stories ever.
It was the worst experience I've ever had at a movie theater. It was because The Dark Knight is so intense and so emotionally... I mean, the whole thing is about making impossible choices.
It's a very grueling movie. It is
Yes.
not the movie you would see to relax.
Yes, it is hard to watch. It's dark, and it is, and bad things very much happen to people. Man, did I have major trouble with this movie.
But you've watched it since, I assume?
Oh yeah, and
Okay.
it's a fantastic movie. It's, I would put it more on the important side rather than on the popcorn side, if that makes sense.
Okay, but thus far in the list, we've compared important to good. Where does it fall on that scale for you?
Oh, I mean, I think it's great. It's extremely, extremely well done. I just think that it is. I guess the best way to put it is that it is emotionally draining to watch it. It's not something that you put on in the background while you're folding laundry or something. This is...
See, I totally do.
Really?
I watch this all the time. It's definitely a grueling movie, but I love it, and I rewatch it a lot.
And why is that?
Because it's awesome.
Well, I know it's awesome.
You know, what made this movie work is the Joker. I mean, obviously. And he, was rightly celebrated for his work as the Joker. But not only does the Joker drive the very dark plot, but he also injects almost all the humor into this story. You get some humor from Alfred, but the Joker, while being a terrifying psychopath, also manages to be funny enough that the movie is not just pure dark sadness the entire time.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Right.
Even though it's dark humor, it's still humor. And so it works. Also, it's insanely clever. This is one of the only movies where I've bought most of the, villain who's one step ahead of you kind of stuff.
Right.
Because of the way he is manipulating everybody. And it still goes over the top, I think, and movies of that type always will. But seeing the way in which the Joker outsmarts you 2 steps before you realize that you're being outsmarted, I loved.
True. I would say, I think it's interesting in this one that Batman himself, Bruce Wayne, seems much more distant and inhuman. Not inhuman, but you don't see him so much as a real person anymore in this movie. He is, well, at the same time, you're getting a lot of his emotion. You are not relating to him as much, I think, as you did in the first movie.
Yeah, I can see that. And it's because he's on a different character arc. Batman Begins, you see him from, kind of weird little nebbishy boy grow into Batman. And in this one, he already is Batman. And this is one of those, part 2, I don't want to be the superhero anymore kind of stories. And he's very brooding and wants to get out. And so, yeah, I can see that. It doesn't bother me a ton.
Well, no, it doesn't bother me either. It still is a fantastic movie. But it almost seems like the Joker is the main character, not Batman.
Maybe. I think if I were to pick one, this is Harvey Dent's story.
Ugh.
The way this movie works, the way it is structured, this is the rise and fall of Harvey Dent, with Batman and Joker as the other two sides of it.
I would agree with that, and I would say that that's unfortunate, because I think that Harvey Dent, while yes, I think that it really is all about him, and that's why the story continues. I mean, even after the Joker's caught, and I still think that he is the weakest link of the three. I don't know.
Yeah, that's definitely a downfall for it. I will say, on the other hand, The Dark Knight has, without question, my favorite stand-up and cheer hero moment of any movie on this list.
And is that the fairy?
No, well, that, yes. Okay, it has the two best stand-up and cheer hero movements. The one where the criminals throw the bomb out the window, so that they can't blow anything up, and then the other fairy does the same thing. The people prove Joker wrong, but then also at the end when Batman makes that big sacrifice and he says, the one thing that will save this city right now is me taking the fall for Harvey Dent and saying that I'm the bad guy and he was a hero. I love that. I love it every time.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm excited to see where that one goes, and to see if they can keep up the pace. I really hope that we're not heading toward another Spider-Man 3.
No, I think what we're going to get is another Dark Knight that will seem epic and wonderful and grueling and sad compared to Avengers. There's no way at this point that Dark Knight Rises will be as fun, even if it is technically better. And so that comparison is not going to work well for it.
That's true. So, anyway, I agree.
Okay, so we've gone through this whole list now. Let's build backwards. If we were to make our own list, what would you have as number one? I would probably, honestly, keep The Dark Knight here, though I'd be very tempted to put Spider-Man 2 in its place.
I would probably put Spider-Man 2 as number one.
And then what would you have as number two?
Of this list, I would put Scott Pilgrim next.
See, my top three are definitely Dark Knight, Spider-Man 2, and Scott Pilgrim on this particular list.
Mm-hmm.
Probably in that order.
Dark Knight, Spider-Man 2, Scott Pilgrim. So mine is the opposite, except that I've got Dark Knight as number 3.
So you'd put Dark Knight as still in the top 3, though?
Yes.
Then maybe 4. Dude, this is where it gets hard. Because the next 3 for me would be Hellboy, X-Men 2, and Avengers, and I'm not certain what order I'd put them in.
Yeah, and I would, with me, it would definitely be X-Men 2 just because I haven't seen the Avengers. I would imagine Avengers would be right up there, but I'm going to have to put X-Men 2 there. Hellboy, as you know, I'd put further down on the list.
Okay, so next week, we're not going to talk about comic books, guys. Don't worry.
No. Next week, we're going to talk about something more non-nerderish. Nerdish.
We should talk about music next week.
Music. Done. We'll talk about music.
A completely different non-storytelling medium altogether.
Yes. Done and done. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. We hope that you guys have enjoyed this. We are looking forward to many happy episodes with you. Emotional episodes, very special episodes.
And as with all of our episodes of this podcast, we want you to jump into the comments and talk about how Rob was completely wrong about everything he said.
And about how Dan was completely less attractive than Rob. All right, well, we will see you guys next week.
Bye.
Can you read my mind? Do you know what it is that you do to me? I don't know who you are. Just a friend from another star.